Hey, belt notches and fancy watches, welcome, 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 welcome. Hi everybody, my name is Jon and welcome to ADITW, a day in the Word, the internet's favorite Bible study. We're hopping right back into Matthew this week, getting down and dirty. Getting down and holy. With Matthew chapter 8. Today we're going to focus on just one section of this chapter, but I promise you we got a lot to get through. So let's get started. Let's read Matthew chapter 8, verses 5 through 13. So here we have a story that my Bible calls the faith of the centurion. So first we have to ask ourselves, who and what is a centurion? A centurion was essentially an officer in the Roman army. The dominant empire of the day was Rome, and the Roman Empire during the time of Jesus had taken over Israel and was occupying the city of Jerusalem. And this centurion man that Jesus happens upon is an officer in that oppressive army. Now this is really significant because after his encounter with this man, Jesus marvels at him, saying, "I have not found anyone in Israel with such great faith." Now, there are very few other times in the Gospels that Jesus is so impressed by someone else's faith. And there's an important point to be made here, because a lot of people in Jesus' day, especially the Jews, thought that God was only on their side, which meant that Jesus only came for the Jewish people. But by marveling at the faith of this Gentile Roman soldier, Jesus is making a point here, saying that faith does not come from your race. It does not come from your upbringing or your occupation. And that should encourage someone who is watching who perhaps grew up in a non-religious household, or someone who has maybe doubted the legitimacy of their faith because they work in a secular job. Jesus is clearly stating here that true faith does not come from race or occupation, but true faith comes from something much deeper, something much more significant. So where does this kind of faith come from? What was it about this man's faith that amazed Jesus? Well, the story's not altogether too clear on that one. It's a little hazy. But there are several strong possibilities. This story is also found in Luke chapter 7. And in Luke's account of the story, the centurion man and Jesus never actually meet, but instead, the centurion sends Jewish elders on his behalf. And the text tells us that these Jewish elders pleaded earnestly with Jesus to help this centurion man. This is also very strange, because remember, at this time, the Roman Empire, specifically the Roman soldiers, were oppressing the Jewish people. Jewish elders and centurions were not traditionally best of friends. This is like your cat coming to you and saying, "Please, will you feed the dog? He looks so hungry." But what does this tell us about the centurion man? Does it perhaps suggest that he is the type of man who is willing to break down social and religious barriers in order to form trusting, loving relationships? Is Jesus excited by this man's willingness to reach across the proverbial aisle? The fact that this man is close enough with these religious elders that they are willing to go and plead with Jesus on his behalf, is this evidence of an amazing faith? Or could it possibly be something different entirely? It is clear from history and from the context of this story that this centurion was a man of authority. He says in verse 9, "For I myself am a man under authority, with soldiers under me. I tell this one, go, and he goes, and that one, come, and he comes." So here we have a centurion, a man of public authority, who is willing to profess his belief that Jesus has ultimate authority. This man is allowing Jesus to be God of his strengths. Let me explain. If you think about life, it's pretty easy to allow God to be the God of our weaknesses. Because if I'm bad at it, then obviously I need God's help. When I am weak, He is strong. His power is made perfect in my weakness. It's pretty easy to allow God to be the God of our weaknesses. It's a bit more difficult to allow him to be the God of our strengths. When we find something that we excel at, when we find something we're good at, it can be really easy to become puffed up with pride. And while we would never say this out loud, inside we're really thinking, I got this, God, I don't need you. And isn't it ironic that while the Jews and disciples are still arguing and wondering who Jesus is, this Gentile soldier with a possibly pagan upbringing has such great faith as to say, no, Jesus, just say the word and the healing will be done. You don't even need to show up, Jesus. Does this centurion's amazing faith simply come from an unshakable sense of belief? Is it the fact that he, among all of these other people, sees and believes Jesus for who he says he is? In the end, we'll never know exactly what Jesus was marveling at in this man. However, whether it is belief, humility, or a willingness to love those who are different from you, I believe all of these things are components to a strong, committed faith. This week, I want to encourage you to pray for greater belief in your life. I encourage you to sit down and journal on some areas in your life where you need a little more humility, where you can allow God to be the God of your strengths. And I encourage you to reach out to those who are different from you. And through your love, show them that this Jesus, the God you worship, came for everyone, and that faith in him is available to all. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope it encouraged you on your faith journey. If it did, I would really appreciate it if you would hit that big thumbs up down below, that like button. It helps me out a lot. Also, make sure to tune in next week as we continue on this journey through Matthew. As always, I appreciate your comments down below. Let me know what you thought of this chapter, this reading. What are you taking away from it? Your comments always encourage me, and I always learn something from the comments section, which is great. And of course, last but not least, I love you all. And last but not least, keep being awesome. Ooh.